Hello everybody, welcome to the Wonky Angle, where I talk about electronic music, both new and old. And today marks the 9-year anniversary of me having started this channel, and as such, it is time to carry on the yearly update to my CD collection. Alright, it's time for the annual tradition of me going through all the CD purchases that I made in the past 12 months. There's quite a few this time. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. Let's just get started. So the first one that came in after my previous update was, I think, this one for Fila Brasilia's Power Clown. A little over a year ago, I went through the full back catalog of Fila Brasilia just on my own time. I'd already reviewed, by Patreon request, their second album, Name That Tune. I like how the CDs are just so tightly packed now that they can just hold themselves up. I had reviewed this for a Patreon request a while back, and so at some point last year I took the opportunity to listen to all the other albums, and I think Power Clown was probably my favorite out of all of them. The ones that came close were, I want to say, Black Market Gardening and the first one, Old Codes, New Chaos, along with Name That Tune. And I remember, I think my least favorite one at the time when I marathoned them was Mess. It lived up to its title. It wasn't paced that well. But at the same time, all the Fila Brasilia albums are kind of just the same. Like, the distance between their best stuff and their worst stuff is pretty small, all things considered. This still has a sticker on it. Not anymore. Well, yeah, Power Clown. That's a really great, like, jazz breaks album if you want to check it out, despite the goofy-ass title, because all Fila Brasilia albums have goofy-ass titles. Next up, I have this one for Manuel Gosting, E2E4. There we go. I got this one upon the announcement of his passing. It's a classic pioneering work that kind of just set the standards for techno and trance music in, like, what was it, the 80s? Yeah, there it is. Recorded on December 12th, 1981. Okay. Yeah, this is an all-time classic. I figured this is the kind of thing I should have in my collection, and now I do. Some other new ones that came in over on this side of the shelf. This is a CD for Robin A1200's Out of Office. This is an album that I only thought was good and not necessarily great, but I've been friends with this artist. I've known her as long as my old YTP days, long before I started this channel, so I was just happy to support her and get this CD. It's a very nice collection of, like, MIDI computer music, I guess. Like, meant to sound like computer games from the 90s and 80s and shit. Some good stuff here. And right next to it, I have this CD, this multiple CD of DJ Sabrina the Teenage DJ's Destiny. This was the album that, like, really finally converted me into a fan of DJ Sabrina. Or at least, it was the first time that the formula actually worked for me and didn't feel like just complete, absolute overkill. Yeah, it was nice to get it in this format too, because 3 CDs having, like, 2 defined breakpoints was honestly a really nice thing. Because this is a 4-hour album? So, like, yeah, it's the length of 3 full CDs. So having those breakpoints built in the specific points they were makes this a heck of a lot easier to digest than it would have been otherwise. And yeah, this was an album that was good enough to get physically. guess I can get some ones from over on this side of the shelf. After my review of the last One-O-Tricks Point Never album, I got inspired to get a CD for Magic One-O-Tricks Point Never. This is an album that has just continued to stick with me, and like really cement itself as one of his absolute best works. And yeah, like just it feels really personal to him in a way that none of his other projects are. Yeah, maybe at some point I can get other CDs of him. The only other one I have was R+7. I've had that one for a minute now. On top of that, there were also some artists from Ultimate Records that I got some CDs for. For instance, I got this one for Ace Dana's A Period. That was the most recent album of his that like started to change my mind on whether this newer techno-focused era of the label might still have its quality to it that's worth going out of my way for in a separate way to like the more organic stuff that they cut their teeth on. I will say I don't really like this cover as much as the original cover that had like the bridge on it covered in mist and stuff. That was just a much cooler cover, and this ocean one is not quite as visually appealing, but still, it's nice to have this in my collection. This was a great album. And also, I got an album from Ultimate alumni, Asura. I got his new album, Renaissance, which was also a year-end list contender for me last year. Yeah, this is a project that's stuck with me as some of his best stuff. I should shout out to Asura. Well, I've emailed my year-end list to this guy when he obviously made the cut for it, and he sent me back like just the absolute nicest email about like making it through dark times and like seeing the light ahead of you. It was just like this really inspirational and heartwarming, lengthy message. It was just so nice. I didn't actually reply to him because social anxiety and shit. Really sorry about that, but extremely belated thanks to that guy. He seems like an awesome dude. All right, next up, I have a CD from the Future Sound of London. Yeah, this was Environment 7.003. This album honestly has not stuck with me at all. I haven't listened to it a single time since putting up my review, but again, I have CDs of all the other ones. I gotta be a completionist. Yeah, the E7 series was a little underwhelming. I didn't get quite as much out of it as I hoped to get, but there is a lot of really nice stuff in this series. A lot. I like the first two volumes, Rituals and Space of Partial Illumination, more than this. But this had a lot of nice stuff on it too. And of course, there were also a bunch of random purchases that just have nothing to do with any recent reviews. At some point, I got this CD of cut copies in ghost colors. The casing around it has seen better days. It is an interesting way to package it, though, with the like colors lining up like that's cool. This is like one of the best 80s revival projects. Like this came out in 2007. Just the tunes on these are fantastic and like actually show that old school 80s sound in a way that's fun and not completely played out. Like so many 80s revival projects have come in the years since. This one really had the tunes to back itself up. Lights and Music is an all-time favorite, and Nobody Lost, Nobody Found as well. This is a great album. And after that, I got there's a bunch of CDs here that I just kind of got packaged all together at the same time. Like just there was a Discog seller that had like a minimum. I initially only wanted to get one CD from them. Originally, I just wanted to get this one for Alex Moak's Incommunicado, which is really nice. just classic techno projects. I don't know about classic actually. It's 2005, but it's a really great techno project that stuck with me after one of this guy's EPs got a Patreon request a long time ago. I've come back to this one every now and then. This is real, and it's held up continually for me. But at the same time as that, I also got a CD for this. I got Talvin Singe's OK. This is an album that I've never talked about or referenced at any points, but it's one that I heard like for the first time long before I started this channel, like off the recommendation of like a book about ambient music that I used to check out from a library near our house. That had like loads of recommendations and was my introduction to artists like Brian Eno and stuff. The book was called The Ambient Century, and another one of the recommendations that book gave me was Talvin Singe's OK. If you like artists like Banco de Gaia, you're gonna like an album like this. This is like a combination of all these completely different world music influences and this really organic and well-textured, all these well-textured mixes that just sound absolutely freaking gorgeous. It's very 90s sounding. 1998. It came out then and it sounds like it, but what 90s cliches are, there are the good kind of 90s cliches, and yeah, that's a great a fantastic project that's worth going out of your way for. Also from the same seller that I got at the same time, where is it? I got this CD for Underworld's 100 Days Off. I already had CDs for Second Toughest in the Infants and Bocoup Fish, and this is I think the one that I hold right behind those two, like my third favorite. Either that or Dub No Bass with My Head Man, but I want to say it's this one beats it, because if nothing else, because 2 Months Off is like absolute top tier Underworld, and the rest of the album is just really solid and well varied in a way that Dub No Bass with My Head Man isn't as much. I haven't listened to a lot of Underworld in a while. I don't have current plans for a discography review for them, but they are one that I will have to do someday. We'll see when that time comes. Next, over here, I got a CD of the Black Dogs Radio Scarecrow, the remastered version. This is one of my favorite Black Dog albums, especially in their... This is the most representative, I feel like, of their modern period after Martin and Richard Dust kind of took over the band. It's just a fantastic collection of minimal techno, like 17 tracks. They all like just super smoothly segue into each other, and this is a fantastic album. I'd say my fourth favorite behind Spanners, Silenced, and Music for Real Airports, which were the ones that I already had CDs of prior. There were also a couple of CDs that I was inspired to get when I was reaching the end of my discography review on Tangerine Dream. I didn't get any new Tangerine Dream CDs that I haven't already shown in a previous update. However, first of all, I did get this CD for the Edgar Fruza solo album, Epsilon and Malaysian Pale. When I went through that gigantic-ass 2.5-hour odds and ends video, this was by miles the best project to come out of, like, everything I listened to for that entire video. If I had, for whatever reason, decided to include Edgar Fruza's solo albums in that ranking video that I did, I think this would be, like, number 4 or something at this point. It is just, like, really stuck with me since I put that video together. It's just, like, the hype for this one was real. Just the mellotrons on this one are fucking incredible. And you got like just one jungle themed mellotron piece and then another kind of more electronic thing that's more in line with other Tangerine Dream albums like Phaedra and all those. And it's freaking incredible. And consider me converted on this one. Never gave it a chance before making that video, but I'm very glad I finally set aside the time to do it. The other CD that I was inspired to get by that Tangerine Dream Odds and Ends video is this, for Ulrich Schnauz's A Strangely Isolated Place. Because Ulrich Schnauz was a member of Tangerine Dream right at the very end. Yeah, the Ulrich Schnauz era of Tangerine Dream was a lot better than I would have ever given it credit for in previous years. Though as solid as Schnauz's contributions to Tangerine Dream's history have been, nothing's really going to compare to his solo work, I feel like. I already had a CD of his first album, Faraway Trains Passing By. That was always my favorite of his. And A Strangely Isolated Place, that was an album that took a lot longer to grow on me to a similar level. I honestly only just started clicking with me more recently. I always found the melodies on Faraway Trains to be a lot catchier. The sound of that album is a lot more simplistic. This one is trying to be a lot more expansive and epic, but yeah, so the appeal is kind of different, but it's, yeah, I think it took a while for me to come around on this one, but I think I can get behind the hype on it nowadays. Another one of the kind of elephants in the room over here. After I reviewed the last Square Pusher album, Dastro Time, I had kind of gone through a lot of his old albums, again after many years of not really having touched his stuff because I had already reviewed everything and stuff. But I sort of realized Square Pusher is the kind of artist that I feel like I should have all the CDs of. If I have all the CDs of artists like Fortet and Future Sound of London and The Orb and whatnot, there's no reason. Square Pusher is very much in a similar tier for me, like one of my all-time favorite artists, and there's no reason that I shouldn't have all of his CDs. Now, I previously already had a whole bunch of them, like Feed Me Weird Things, Hard Normal Daddy, all my biggest favorites. So the ones that I didn't already have, I got a CD for the Big Loda compilation, because that has a whole bunch of his classic stuff. I already had Music Is Rotted One Note before, but I also got a CD for Budokan Mind Phone. I like the back cover of that one. That's a cool train tunnel photo. That's nice. I got a CD for Selection 16. That's another kind of one is like middle lower tier ones. There's still a lot of great stuff on here. Tracks like Tomorrow World is a classic. I got a CD, of course, of Go Plastic. This, I may not be as into this album as most people are, but I mean, it's still kind of a classic whether I like it or not. And I mean, obviously I love a track like My Red Hot Car and some of these others. It's been a long time since I listened to this one. Maybe I should give it another chance at some point. I even got my least favorite Square Pusher album, which is Do You Know Square Pusher, including the CD of the Live in Japan. It's just all stuff from Go Plastic, and oh great, this is falling out. Yeah. Oh, stay in place, thank you. And I got Ultra Visitor, Hello Everything, Just a Souvenir. I got, that was like the last one to come in the last update. I also got Show Leader 1, The Demonstrator. His random attempt to do like Daft Punk electropop that just is kind of a weird, controversial move for him, but it's still interesting and has a bunch of good tracks that I really like. I already had Eufabulum and Enstrobia before, but I also got all the ones after that. I got Damagen Furies. This is seen better days, I guess. A little rough around the edges. I especially like the opener, obviously. The rest of the album doesn't really compare to it, but it's solid. I also got a CD for Be Up a Hello, which is not one of my favorites either, but it did hold up a fair bit better than I expected last time I put it on in preparation for the Dostro Time video. And of course, that leaves the new one, Dostro Time. I got this on CD and thereby have CDs of all the Square Pusher albums now, so it's nice to have that collection filled out. I don't have CDs for like stuff like Burning in Tree or that kind of thing, or some of the other lesser known comps and whatnot, but I figure this is plenty. The Big Loda one in particular was just like that. It was kind of too important to ignore. And speaking of CDs that I got for the sake of completion, because I had all the other ones, here's the latest Fortet album, 3. Yeah, this album hasn't... this album's good, but it hasn't really stuck with me that much, honestly. The packaging is great. I really like all the pictures on this packaging here, but... yeah, this album's been nice, but I haven't listened to it once since putting up my review. I know there was a deluxe edition that added a bunch of other tracks, including Mango Feedback, that I had heard and I remember liking. But yeah, I haven't heard the deluxe edition of this album. Maybe I should check that out at some other point. Yeah. And another one that I can't possibly forget, of course, I got the newest reissue of Orbital's Green album that comes with the full... I got the double CD version that has all the B-sides, Torpedo Town, aka the untitled track from the cassette, Macro Head, Satan, LC1, etc., etc., etc. I didn't make a video in response to the existence of this Green Album reissue despite the loads and loads of bonus material. Mostly because the vast majority of the bonus material was stuff I had already heard, and like remixes and stuff. The only track I think that I hadn't heard yet was the other one. And that was a cool track, but most of this stuff I didn't actually have enough interesting to say to merit a whole video, even though there are a lot of really great tracks on this stuff. Green Album's a pretty lower tier Orbital album for me, but it is still a classic. It is still one I put on fairly regularly and still get a ton out of it anytime I do put it on. And as for a bunch of other random purchases that aren't really connected to any videos I made, but I just I saw and wanted to get, I got this CD for Death's Dynamic Shroud, I'll Try Living Like This. This is a really nice, like, kind of classic, I guess technically vaporwave project from, like, 2015, except it's, like, way more musically involved than most vaporwave projects are. It still has the aesthetic, I suppose, to use the overused term for it, but this had a level of effort put into it that a lot of vaporwave albums at the time just didn't really have, and it really stuck out from the crowd at the time and is kind of just stuck out for people as like a particular classic, and I would have to agree with the reception that it has, and I decided to buy it. I haven't really been super enthusiastic about the other stuff I've heard from Death's Dynamic Shroud. That's been generally cool, but I'll Try Living Like This was a real standout. And the one next to it, completely unrelated to that, this is a CD for Plastic Man's Consumed. Yeah, this is the... oh my gosh, is there 2 covers? Wow, look at that. Yeah, this is another classic minimal techno thing. And, yeah, just like the most minimal techno thing. I don't remember what exactly inspired me to get this at the time that I did, but I guess it was just another one that I had included on that big like addendum video that I made for my favorites of all time list back in 2020 that I didn't already own. And I'm like, hey, well, let's get this one. This is a fantastic classic album that I figured I should have in my collection. Should have some Richie Houghton in there. I think I have a CD for his like DE9 Transitions DJ mix somewhere. Do I? Yeah, I do. It's over here. Yeah, I bought this DJ mix by Richie Houghton a while back. I don't remember when exactly, but like this was the smoothest DJ mix I had ever heard in my entire life. Just it's literally called Transitions, and the transitions are by far the most impressive thing about this. It's basically a techno plunderphonics record. There's just so many different tracks being utilized in that one, but I figure I've had that for a minute now because that was probably my favorite thing that I'd heard out of Richie Houghton. But Consumed was my favorite Plastic Man album. That's like probably his signature project under that name. Moving on from there, after the last OMD project, which was supposed to be their final OMD project or whatever, I got a CD for Dazzle Ships, which is easily my favorite of their albums. Yeah, there was a lot more of a level of just abstraction and weirder ideas to this one that most of their albums didn't have. While some of their later attempts to recapture the success of this album have like ended up like very specifically in Kraftwerk's shadow, this one feels more like its own thing that doesn't just overlap with things that Kraftwerk had already done. I mean, maybe Radioactivity comes kind of close, but even then, there's an experience to be gleaned out of this that you can't get out of either any other OMD project or any other Kraftwerk project. Oh yeah, and right next to these, there is of course this CD of Justice's Cross that I got after their most recent album, which was it was nice. Hyperdrama was nice. It was better than I had expected it to be, but yeah. Like going back and just sitting through this album and just realizing, yeah, this is just wall-to-wall classic bangers and stuff. There's no reason I shouldn't have this in my collection as well. So that was something that I got. Moving on from there, there's this set of three, I suppose, that just I got for reasons, that I don't even remember what the reasons were. So first we got Venetian Snares, the Hungarian title that I am not going to attempt to pronounce this time. Yeah, this is another classic I felt I should have in my collection. I miss Venetian Snares. I know he just put out an EP in collaboration with, what was it, John Frusciante, I want to say? That's been like the first thing he's done in like 6 years or something. He used to have like 80 billion albums in the course of like the 2000s, and then he just hasn't put out anything in ages. I want a chance to like try his catalog out and like actually give him the full and brief segment that I didn't. Because when I reviewed his last album, I only checked out like parts of his full catalog, because back then I was still under the impression that in brief segments needed to be brief. That was many years ago. Guy just hasn't given me a good opportunity to go back though. Like since that album he had the one album with Daniel Lanois. or however you say his name, sorry. And then he had, like, a reissue of his very first release, like, Greg Hates Card Culture, and then there's this EP. And that's been literally everything that he's done since 2018, and that's nuts. I'd like him to make a comeback at some point. I want to give him another chance sometime. He probably deserves better than what I gave him last time. Going from there, I also got a CD of... I got this classic, Fatboy Slim's You've Come a Long Way Baby. Has been a giant part of my life for many years. I want to say I got it and it was another Discog seller that had like a minimum price, and I had to get this alongside something else at in the same package. And I want to say one of the Square Pusher ones, actually. And this was one that I could get alongside it. Yeah, I mean, this is just like one of the all-time classics, A Big Beat. And like, all these tracks have just been a giant part of my life, mostly thanks to my YTP days. Pretty much stand by all the things that I said back in my ancient video of it. Right next to it, there's this guy. We got this CD for Actress, R.I.P. Actress was a catalog that was really cool when I went through his recent album, 88. He just came out with a new one. I'm gonna be checking that out for the next Some Stuff I Missed, I believe. Yeah, his catalog was really interesting. There's just, each of his albums were like different variations on a similar formula, and like just despite all the ingredients going into his sound being familiar, just the way he put them together was really unique and set himself apart from any other artist in a way that's like really intangible and like difficult to put into words. And this one, R.I.P., was the one that stood out as my favorite when I initially marathoned his catalog. It like a better version of what I think most people consider his album Splash to be his best one, but this stuck out to me as kind of like a better version of that. Perhaps I'll go through his catalog one more time when I do the Static mini review. I'm not going to do another mini and brief segment though. Oh, and I nearly forgot this one. Had to just record this one after I recorded everything else because I just forgot it. The other CD, this is another CD that I got. This is Oker's A Midsummer Night's Dream. This is one that I got, like a kind of a classic, really nice, buttery smooth, melodic IDM project. This was another one that I had in the 2020 addendum video to my greatest of all time list. And I was like, yeah, this is another really great all-time classic IDM album I should probably have in my collection, and I got it. And this is another one that you should definitely check out if you have not heard it. Alright, and there's only two left to mention, I believe. So, this is one that I just got. This is a CD for Nujabes, Spiritual State, instrumental hip-hop legend. I finally caught myself up on him this year, and I was obviously impressed by what I heard. Just really chillin', smooth stuff. I don't necessarily he's not necessarily the kind of artist that I would have a lot to say about. Like, a lot of his music is very simplistic. A lot of it honestly kind of runs together. Modal Soul was another really good album. There's a lot more rapping on that one. That's probably most well varied out of his projects. But I think that Spiritual State stuck out as my favorite and that was the one that's most focused on his instrumentals in particular. Even though it's a posthumous release. Yeah, really respectfully made posthumous release, if that. Yeah, his stuff has been really nice to check out. and has just been nice as like kind of a nice listen if I need a break for something, or I'm working on something else and want something in the background. And Nujabase has been another rising in my ranks quite a bit, and more recently. But I believe that the very last CD then, that I haven't already mentioned, is gonna be this guy. This is not electronic. This is a CD by the Moody Blues. This is To Our Children's Children's Children. The second Moody Blues CD that I got. The other one was this one, Days of Future Past. That's their sort of debut, except they had an album before that. But I wanted to make sure this one got brought up last because, stay tuned, I'm actually working on a worst to best ranking for this band. One of those off-brand ones like the Pink Floyd and Yes videos. And it's very close to done. Like, I only have one segment left to write and then some cleanup work to make sure that everything flows well. I feel like I'm going to be going even more in depth on this ranking than I did for either the Yes or the Pink Floyd video, because the Moody Blues are a lot more that aren't talked about nearly as much. So there's a lot. I have to give a lot more context to like their history and stuff. So yeah, that's something that you can look forward to in the much nearer future. Alright, so there we go. That's all the CDs that I purchased in the last 12 months. And now I'm going to be heading into year 10 of me doing this. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I have a couple of ideas in mind for what I might do when I reach my 10th anniversary. Also, the CD collection updates are going to be interesting going forward because I am now out of room for these. I think the only thing left to do to make more room for CDs that I already have is move these two Dark Side of the Mogbog sets up, and then I can make use of this space up here, and then I guess I can maybe stack some up over here? I don't know. That's going to be interesting. But I guess we'll see how all that plays out next year. I think that's all I'm gonna have. My camera battery is really on the blink, and I think I'm just gonna leave it at that. So thanks for all the support you've given me over these past 9 years. And yeah, that's all for today. See you next time.